All teams have now launched their 2024 liveries for the upcoming season, and it definitely caused some controversy with the fans, with the actual livery designs themselves and also the livery launches that kind of maybe didn't happen or weren't as great as they have been in the past. But I'm going to be doing a ranking of the worst to the best F1 teams' liveries for this season. And I gotta say, it wasn't quite easy putting them in kind of a ranking order, especially when I'm working off the renders, when some of the teams make the renders look a lot better in some circumstances, or in others, a lot worse than they actually look in real life. So let's get into ranking the F1's 2024 liveries for the upcoming season. And the team coming in right at the back of the grid in P10 is Alpine's A524. Now, I've got to say, when I first saw it, I thought, oh, it kind of looks kind of alright. But then the more I looked at it and the more time comparing it to past liveries and the potential that Alpine could have actually done with their, their colour palette, it looks like literally it's an unfinished car. Like they didn't have time to put the rest of the paint or the vinyl on the car before the launch date. It's not great at all. The pink livery is obviously better than the standard blue livery. I think the pink has a little bit more of a pop than the blue does compared to the carbon. And I'm not mad at the teams using carbon. I know a lot of teams have used carbon, but I'm not really mad at it. But they could have done a lot better. It just looks like it's unfinished. The best angle that I do like is the top-down bird's eye view angle of the pink livery. I do like some of that geometric kind of arrows that they've kind of got on the car, but it just needed a little bit more across the rest of the body. It just looks like it's completely unfinished. So unfortunately, coming in right at the back of the grid at P10 is Alpine. Now, coming in at P9 was kind of a hard decision because at the start of this ranking they were kind of high up the order, but then as I kind of looked at some of the other images and did some more comparisons, that actually ended up in P9. And it's a shame because the design is quite sleek and it's not really bad really. So coming in at P9 is Haas's VF24 livery. Now, it's not bad. I don't mind the black and the white. Black and white isn't too bad, and the red, I think they kind of go well together in the design. It looks sleek. The monogram and the play and go and the Haas, the red and the Chipotle, that all work together. And initially, as I said, they were higher up on the order when I first kind of put the list together. But compared to some of the other liveries, I've got to say that they just felt a bit short. There's nothing really bad about it, really, I suppose. They just come in P8 just because maybe, I don't know, it's just a bit bog standard, a bit boggers. So at P9 is Haas. Now, the livery at P8 is a car that when I first seen it, I was a bit like, oh my gosh, I do not like that. But then as time's gone on and I've looked at the car completely, I do feel like it is a lot better than I actually thought when I first seen it. Coming in at P8 is Stake's C44 livery. Now, I know a lot of people were so happy with a bit of colour on the grid, especially when there's a lot of carbon being launched, but I don't mind the green so much now. I think it is a good pop of colour. I do like the kind of branding and the aesthetic that they're going for. It's kind of moving forward with like a bit of modern and kind of more kind of technological, gamerish kind of colours and livery design. But then also at the same time, if it wasn't for that green, it does look a bit kind of bog standard again with the black. And if I'm honest, it was kind of a close call between Stake and Haas. And what helped Stake get to P8 rather than P9 is that green. I like the kind of, is it roulette table on the wheels? I do quite like that, but other than that, there's nothing there. Yeah, there's not really much more else to say really. Coming in at P8 is Stake. Now, coming in at P7 is a design that's a classic design, hasn't changed much from the previous year, but it's a design that still quite works. Now, some fans are going to be like, oh my gosh, how can I put it in P7? But in my opinion, it belongs there compared to some of the other liveries in this season. So coming in at P7 is Aston Martin's AMR 24. Not much has changed. You got that bright classic green. That's obviously part of their brand identity. I'm upset about the amount of carbon on it. I think they've just taken away a lot of beauty of that green. You know, the green pops. It's, you know, part of their identity of Aston Martin. How much the carbon is encroaching up further and further up from the floor up into the body of the car. It's a shame that they didn't carry on that green further on down into the floor. I do love the yellow that comes down from kind of like the nose all the way down, kind of under the side pod. It's the classic Aston Martin. It's just a shame that there's a lot more carbon than we've seen in the past, but it's classic Aston Martin vibe, so I'm not too mad at it. Aston Martin comes in at P7. Now, coming in at P6 is another classic rendition of the livery for this team. Initially, I wasn't too keen on what they'd done with it. It kind of seemed a bit, P6 is McLaren's MCL 38, and I've put it in P6. Now, I got a love for Papaya. Don't get me wrong, I love Papaya. I love McLaren. You know, it's one of the teams that I do like on the grid. And I've loved some of their past liveries. You know, they've kind of got some of the best liveries, you know, in the game when it comes to the liveries in the sport. But this year, initially, I wasn't too keen on the cutout design that they've done with some of the black. I don't know. I'm not too sure. I mean, I do like it. I love the contrasting between the Papaya and the black and the edgy kind of cutout design. I'm not 100% on it. I do feel like you've kind of got like a folded up pieces of paper and you've done some cutout that, you know, like you used to do when you was a kid and you used to open it up and it would be like a little, I don't know, people holding their hands together kind of thing. So I'm not 100% on the whole cutout design. But, you know, the way that they've also managed to fit all the kind of sponsors on there without it looking too busy and still looking quite smart, I like that. But I'm not too sure about that whole cutout design. But it's Papaya, and it's, you know, they've done a great job with obviously just making it look sleek. We're trying to incorporate that amount of carbon on the car. So coming in at P6 is McLaren. Now moving into the top 5 of the grid, and at P5 we've got Williams's FW46 livery, and I gotta say it looks absolutely sick. I like the contrast between the light blue and the navy blue. The Duracell battery still works, it looks sick. I've loved it from the first time they put it on there. They've managed to put all the sponsors on the car and still managed to make it look really, really sleek. The My Protein on the top part of the body in the navy, and then the Komatsu in the lighter blue below, I think it looks really, really sick. The Golf looks really good. All around, it just looks like a really, really smart livery. I'm one of the ones who's an advocate for the Williams livery this year. I know some people are a bit iffy about it and not too keen about it, but I'm all for Williams' livery. The only thing I would say about the Williams livery is I don't like that red. I don't know what that red is in reference to. The red just around the nose of the wing. I'm not too keen on that, but everything else looks pretty sleek. So P5 is Williams. P4 is a car that hasn't even changed, I think, if any at all. Well, it has, technically it has, but it's very, very similar. But again, it's a classic rendition of that car, of that brand. P4 is Red Bull's RB20. And you gotta throw it in. It hasn't changed very much, but I've thrown it in P4 because it is just a classic car. There's nothing really much they should do to change it up. I do like some of the special one-off liveries that they've done, like the white one that they did for Japan that didn't actually get run, but it looked pretty cool. And obviously they've done some like fan competitions in previous years to kind of like change up the liveries a little bit. The navy, the red, the yellow and the white is just iconic to Red Bull's brand, and again it's a classic, but again it deserves to be in P4 in my opinion. Again, only upsetting thing for me is the fact that how much carbon has kind of moved up. Again, Red Bull have also kind of taken advantage of the carbon this year as well, just like everybody else has, but again it's a classic car, nothing more else to say. P4 for Red Bull. Now we're moving into the top 3 liveries. Coming in at P3 is Ferrari's SF24. Do you know what I like about this year's livery for Ferrari? It's kind of giving me a bit of a retro vibe with the stripes of the white and the yellow across the car. I know a lot don't like those stripes across the car, but I quite like them. It kind of gives me a bit of that retro vibe, and it fits in obviously with their sponsors. Again, another car that's managed to put all their sponsors on the car without it looking too messy. And yeah, obviously I'm not too keen on the carbon that they have like across the side pod at the back, but again, everyone's trying to get in their carbon quota, aren't they? So, you know, I can't be too mad at it, but it does look really good in the renders, and I think it looks even better on track. So Ferrari's a well-deserved P3. Now the car coming in at P2, believe it or not, was at P10 when I first started to construct this video, because when I first seen the renders, I thought, oh my gosh, what has happened here? Is somebody just swallowed a bunch of colour and regurgitated it and put it on a car? Anyway, the car coming at P2 is Racing Bull's V-Carb 01 livery. Now, let me just explain, how can it go from P10 all the way up to P2? I gotta say, the renders for this car is disgusting. It doesn't do any justification for the actual livery of the real life car. It looks like someone just swallowed a bunch of blue, white and red with a bunch of sponsors, mixed it all together and just slapped it on a car. Like, it looks like, it just looks like it's just been regurgitated, all the sponsors with the colours, and just slapped on a car. It looks horrible. The renders literally do it no justice whatsoever. But when I seen it on the shakedown, I was like, oh, that's what they're doing. Okay. So the blue and the silver is actually metallic, and I'm loving it. I'm here for it. I'm absolutely loving that vibe. It looks so sick. Yeah, like, it looks absolutely sick. Which only recently I realised it's kind of a nod to the actual Red Bull can. If you look at the Red Bull can, it is that kind of blue and that silver. I'm probably the last person who's probably realised that. But I'm not too mad at the Hugo and the Honda white strip across the side of the car. But then obviously the way it kind of comes down the car from the side profile, I don't know, I reckon it's just that render. I think actually in real life the render makes it look a lot straighter than it actually probably is. The renders don't do it any justification. The actual shakedown footage that I've seen made the car look so sick. That's why it went from P10 initially at the start all the way up to like P2, because compared to some of the other liveries, that metallic just slaps. It just slaps in my opinion, and I really like it. So yeah, props to V-Carb. I'm calling them Racing Bulls. I don't even know what to call them in this upcoming season. They got the livery right, but this branding, I don't know what's going on with this branding. That's a chat for another time anyway. Yeah, so if you've done the math, you probably wouldn't realise which car is coming in P1. And the car coming at P1 is Mercedes' W15 livery for the 2024 season. Well done, Mercedes. And you know what? It's not the first time Mercedes has put a banging livery on the grid, let's be honest. And this year, it's kind of a nice hybrid between the black liveries that they've done in the past and also the silver livery. And if it's going to be a livery that was going to be Lewis Hamilton's last season at Mercedes, this has got to be like a good livery for that, because it's kind of showing or a nod to his previous years at Mercedes with the silver from the front angle. So when you're getting those front shots of the coming down the main straights or whatnot, you're going to get that kind of hit of the silver Mercedes, but then obviously on the side angle you're going to get that black Mercedes. I love it. And then the Patronus kind of teal that runs through the car, it's just nice. It kind of hits quite nicely with the car. It works nice. I mean, I think teal could be quite a hard colour to work with, but Mercedes have managed to work it, you know, throughout the whole of the lifetime of being with Patronus. So yeah, and there's obviously just the gradient into the back of the rear of the car with the Mercedes stars at the back. I just think it looks really sleek, and that Ineos with the red doesn't look too out of place. They brought some of the red down the side with next to the AMG and the nose of the front wing, and yeah, I just think it looks really smart. Definitely a great livery for Lewis to have his final season at Mercedes with, and that's why as well it's coming in at P1. So there you have it. At P1 is Mercedes, and that's it, guys. That's just little old me's ranking of the 10 teams 2024 livery for the upcoming season. I'm going to be interested to see how this livery is probably change, or the one-off liveries we're going to see throughout the rest of the season. I wonder if Alpine have taken in a lot of the criticism that they've had regarding their livery, and they might actually add more paint or vinyl to the car as the season goes on. Who knows? They could definitely do with it, because it just looks like an unfinished product. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see how the V-Carb 01 looks around the tracks. It does look so sick. It was a close between the V-Carb and the Mercedes. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Not long now until the season starts. Let's see how it pans out. Would Red Bull stay on top, or can another team get a look in? Who knows? But anyway, for now, ciao.